What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 30 of the Corner Blue. This is a pre-match special to the El Salvador-Mexico match. I'm here with Hugo Alvarado. I'm Andres Rico. Hope everyone is excited, getting ready. They have their food ready, their trago ready, their company ready for the match that should be a great simulation, or basically the main test to see what this team can achieve in the short run. How are you doing, Hugo? And where are you, by the way?
I'm excited. Well, first of all, I'm not at home today. As you can see, I'm in a town called Ojai in the north of LA, a couple of hours north of LA. So let's hope the internet stays strong for this episode. But I'm definitely excited, looking forward to it. It's been cold on the top in La Cima.
Chilly looking down on everyone else.
No, but really looking forward to the match. I think, first of all, let's admit, the pressure is different now that we are already through to the quarterfinals, but that doesn't mean that the team will take this game lightly. We never want to lose against Mexico, and our team has been doing really well, and it's a perfect opportunity, I think, for our guys to showcase what they can offer against one of the top two rivals in the area.
But first of all, we're going to break down what occurred in the match between El Salvador and Trinidad and Tobago, which was that huge stepping stone that El Salvador hadn't been able to take in its history in Gold Cups, winning the first two matches in the group stage and sealing its path to the quarterfinals. Something big. The tendency for El Salvador has been always aiming for that third spot due to the weird formatting that Concacaf usually gives the Gold Cup. It allowed for maybe one mishap and then scraping through to the next round. One of the main matches that comes to mind when we sealed that third place, the second, third place, first, third place, was that match against Cuba in 2011, back when we needed to win by a margin of 5, and La Selecta, albeit full of the vendedores, amañadores, but they're able to get that 6 goal against Cuba and seal their pass to the quarterfinals, where ultimately we were like 2 minutes away from beating Panama and going to the semifinal, which would have been even more historic. But things didn't necessarily work out. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First of all, the match against Trinidad. What were your sensations on it?
It was a sticky match. I think that we controlled most of the game, but going into the second half, I think there was a large portion of the second half where the team got disorganized. We lost control of the ball, and Trinidad was very close to tying the match. Gonzalez made a great save, and then Zabaleta was there on time to cover and avoid the goal. But that tells you that in a tournament like this, you can't really lose focus no matter what. You have to be focused 100%. And I think the subs made by Perez, paid off. I like seeing Armando Moreno. I like to see more of him. We'll see if we get to see some more in the match tomorrow. He's definitely a player that has a quality touch. And as we saw, he has the long range shot. It was a nice shot. Yes. The goalkeeper had some responsibility on that, but you also have to give credit to the player. I always said that even with a player like Enrico, when we saw him shooting from long range, they're not shots that are just like, I'm going to shoot and whatever, let's see what I can get. Yeah. Right. I think that it shows great technique, and shout out to La Cabrita Portillo, who had that great assist right in front of the goal. He could have scored the goal himself, but he instead decided to pass it over to Walmer. But I'm excited that we won in the way we did by 2 goals. I don't think we've done that against Trinidad and Tobago in a while. and then we also got lucky. They could have tied the match, and we got to see the team come back from that 15 minutes or so where we completely lost control of our midfield. Perhaps the subs, took a little longer for them to kind of adjust to the game and the speed of the game, but they eventually did. And yeah, there was the whole drama with the sixth sub. And fortunately, or actually credit to the coaching staff, because I even heard the commentators, Cienfuegos and another commentator saying, "Oh, they're rookies," and now we're seeing it, implying that they didn't know the rules and now they had committed this big mistake that could have cost us the 3 points. But instead, more than rookies, they really showed that they really know their stuff and their rules, and they're really checking things out and used it in this case towards our advantage to keep that score up. And Walmer Martinez, he scored 2 goals as a sub. He's there, he's always there on the play. So credits to him for being in the right spot at the right time.
No, definitely. When it comes to this match, I think the easiest you can describe it is, in a sense, it's almost like a vintage Selecta match where El Salvador, throughout the years, when it's, at a peak or the team is doing well, it's always known to go out guns blazing the first 45. And then you start to see a decline in the performance in the second half. Another one that comes to mind is, ironically, the Mexico El Salvador from 2011, where El Salvador played an amazing first 45 under Rubén Israel. Rest in peace, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Played in a great first half, pressed high up, very direct, basically competed for possession with Mexico instead of playing defensively. And then everything crumbled in the second half. Again, you look at the roster in the context of the times, there's things in the background that kind of led to a 5, to the result. But with this team, we saw that great first half, the signature Perez tactics of pushing up, being frontal, playing on the wings, the defense pressing high up as well. We have the ball, very accurate passes, a lot of great dynamic in the midfield. I think, if anything, there's highlight in the first half was we saw Darwin Seren at his best in recent memory. I mean, this was vintage Seren that did well for the Quakes, that did well for La Selecta and other campaigns. But I think since the last match against Honduras in the previous Gold Cup had been kind of, teetering in terms of his levels and his performances, it was great to see him finally more involved in the offensive aspect of keeping that cohesion in the middle, leaving most of the dirty work for Narciso so that he could play a little back, and Marvin and Darwin could play ahead of Narciso. But that dynamism wore out in the second half. And as you mentioned, there was a lapse of 15, 20 minutes when subs started coming in. And even before that, the speed, the cohesion started to lack. I think a main factor of that was that we weren't able to attack on the right wing due to Tamacas taking a beating in the first half. Like, this guy was hit at least 4 or 5 times. The main one was a hit to the dome, which affected him due to concussion protocols. That's why he was even taken out during the match, and that's why there was room for that 6th sub, as you mentioned. But once he was off, and it would have been ideal for him to come off earlier, but once things were broke down on the right wing, that's when things started to change for the team. Fortunately, you have a sub like Roldan, so moving forward, I don't know if Tamacas will be in a position to play tomorrow, but there is an option in case he is, he's not fit.
Yes, as you mentioned, it was definitely a rough game to start. I do think that the refs are allowing a lot more than they should in this tournament. This is not a complaint like the complaint that's coming out of Mexico, where it almost seems as they feel that they don't belong in this area, and they want to, or they don't want to play the tournament because teams are playing too hard against them. This is more like, I think the ref could have done a little more to maybe, yes, he had an early yellow card, but I think there could have been more yellow cards to send a clear message to both teams that, they had to step it down a little bit with those
with the hard contact.
Yeah, with the hard contact challenges. But I think there was a period of I don't remember, 5-10 minutes where I think Tamacas and Roldan were both playing, and Roldan went in as a right wing as a replacement of Josh, I believe. And if, we don't know, but if tomorrow Tamacas is not 100% to play that game, Roldan could, easily replace him, because that is his natural position, or at least where he's been playing with the Sounders. But also some of the things that I think I jumped forward too much earlier. I also want to say that the playing Rivas as a number 9 really, I liked it. I really like this. I really like the whole lineup this time. Actually, I was very happy with the lineup. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rivas is starting tomorrow again. But I really like how he did. And then Jairo Enriquez, Jairo Enriquez, I mentioned it in the tweet. I think it's the best version of Jairo that we've seen since 2013. He seems very strong. Whatever he's done to put on some muscle weight has really paid off. He's still quick, the way he has been all this time, but he has really grown in confidence. Confidence is really important. I think a lot of the players from the U20 had lost a lot of their confidence because of other things that we have discussed in this show with some of the players who participated in that World Cup. There were high expectations about them making a huge move to Europe or other top leagues, and then they ended up, going back to reality, back to the Salvadorian league. There were players like Jairo Enriquez who played in the Mexican third division for a little bit and didn't do so well. Marvin Baumgartner, ended up playing a season here in the USL and then retiring, basically. So I think that Hugo Perez has done something right, or a previous coach that he had in Chalatenango, I believe, has really, done a really good job in helping him psychologically to get back to his top level. And I hope for him that there's always MLS clubs watching these games, these Gold Cup games. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jairo Enriquez is in one of those MLS teams' discovery list, and perhaps we can see a move soon. I mean, it's only been 2 games, so let's just hope that, he continues to build on those 2 games where he's done really, really well. Our center backs, I thought, did a really good job, at defending again. Very physical players. That has always been something that hurt us. The physicality of the Caribbean teams. Set pieces. Zabaleta looks solid. I mean, he looked 100. It's one of the most solid games I've seen of him in the national team, considering that we were playing a team that really, pushes us to the next level. Of course, Mexico will be different, but I thought the center backs did really well. So overall, I think the team had a really, really good performance until that lapse of 15 minutes that we saw in the second half.
Yeah, just to piggyback on the whole Jairo situation, I think we've seen the progression, especially when we've seen the progression, especially when Chalatenango ended up signing Puma, Jairo, and of course a Chalatillo, and we saw the 3 former U20 players back on the same team. They seem to get interesting results in the early part of last season. Granted, with all the funkiness of COVID, things didn't necessarily pan out, but then you had another player from Chalate end up playing for the U23s. So if I'm not mistaken, it was Ezequiel Rivas, and that almost seemed to open a door to this young team. Chalatenango doesn't have a huge history in El Salvador, but they made some interesting signings. Thinking about, the reality is teams over there can't really think about the long term just because of the instability that the pandemic has brought, but then also the economic instability. But you saw Jairo week to week in the highlight reels of the league in El Salvador. De Los Cobos calls him. He gets a couple performances under De Los Cobos as De Los Cobos is on his way out. But he made that impression so much so that Hugo Perez decided to keep him on. And he has a series of performances that are showing that this guy is something special. I mentioned it on the Twitter account previously. You can't sleep on Jairo. I think he's one of the more dynamic players that we have on the team right now. And just knowing the backstory, you can't help but get excited for this guy and hopeful that it turns into a contract abroad. One thing I did notice though about the center backs, and this is due to the scouting report I got from you, Will, I really obviously like Selecta as a center back, but he does have that tendency of when he goes high, having a harder time recovering due to speed. So that's something that I think the defense is going to have to work out on who's covering who, on how far to push, on in the certain situations. But that I think was the only thing that teams were probably looking at and realizing, oh, okay, here's a potential weakness that we can exploit. So I think that's something that the defense needs to work on. Other than that, the movement on the wings I've liked. Definitely more on the right wing than, let's say, on the left with Larin. But I like Larin's defensive approach. He's being consistent. You're seeing the veteran aspect of his game, the experience go into the game. And there's basically nothing other than to look forward to this match with Mexico in the sense that we're into the next round. This tournament isn't our priority, but this is a moment to get this team at that octagonal jitters, get that adrenaline going, feel that pressure, see if this system is truly working out. This is like its first exhibition match, I would say. Trinidad was great because it was a must-win situation. We got the result. It was a little bit funky, especially in the second half, but we got it. That's a achievement unlocked right there. I think now it's time to aim for that great performance against the big dog of the area. I was surprised to see that Hugo Perez was saying in the press conference prior to the match that he's going to go all out, that he's not going to save anything for the fourth match, that this is the perfect time to try everything out, that he's not going to hide any pieces. He's not scared, that he's going to try and implement the same philosophy and tactics that he has throughout his tenure. So that'll be exciting to see, because if, like I mentioned, the reference I have is 2011 under Rubén Israel and how well La Selecta did those first 45 in Dallas, mostly Mexican fans, and they took it to Mexico, and then just unfortunately everything crumbled. But if we can get that for the two halves, it's going to be a great match.
I mean, for La Selecta, it's a special game. It's I think we have a solid enough team to have a really good match against Mexico. I think there's a huge benefit, and I really like this attitude that Hugo Perez is bringing into the La Selecta. His whole program or the whole goal is 2026. So I think that relieves a lot of the pressure, from games like this, like the Gold Cup. For any other coach, is like they don't want to lose against Mexico, so they play very conservative, and then we end up conceding 5 goals. I mean, yes, 2011 was something else, but we've seen our teams kind of play a little bit more defensive. I haven't seen this national team playing defensively. I'm not expecting this team to play defensively tomorrow. I think we're going to play the same style that we've been trying to build, that we're still working on building. And tomorrow is going to be a great opportunity to see where we are, how we can play that style against a team that can really hurt us if we make mistakes. If we make a mistake coming out of the back line, they're going to punish us if we make those mistakes. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the performance of the team tomorrow. And yes, I'm not expecting. I mean, first of all, the main goal, the big goal, big picture is 2026. The next big goal is the qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers for the upcoming one. That, to me, that falls below in terms of priorities, in terms of the tournaments that we currently have going on. Then you have the Gold Cup. And then if you consider that we're already in the quarterfinals, so the team really has a lot to gain from this game tomorrow. I don't want to say we don't have anything to lose. There's always the pride. But to me, if you ask me what I want to see tomorrow, I want to see a good performance. Yes, we always want to win. Yes, I do want the team to win, but I really care about the way we play tomorrow. Even if we lose 1-0, if we lose 2-0, if we lose 2-1, I want to see how the team performs, how each player individually, how they perform against a team like Mexico at a venue that is going to have a really good amount of fans. I believe the max they could sell is 45,000 tickets, and I believe it's sold.
Yeah, I saw those reports too.
Yeah, I believe it's sold out. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us, the fans, to enjoy a really good match, and for the players to really have fun and try to implement that style that Hugo Perez has been working on for the last 2.5 months against a team that goes to every World Cup, a team that is the top in the area with the United States. It's just the perfect opportunity for many things. So I just think that it's going to be an exciting match, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Brings back 2017, 2 Gold Cups ago, when Lara was at the helm. Yes, El Salvador lost 3-1. It was bittersweet, but the defeat wasn't something that, marked you or ticked you off or anything, because you saw how the team played. And let's be realistic here. Mexico is many generations ahead of us. We have a lot of catching up to do. There's different things that can be done to make up for lost time, but ultimately, Mexico's kept progressing, and El Salvador has teetered, in the abyss for a while, and things are finally starting to move in an upward trend. That being taken into consideration, like you said, it's a perfect moment to keep the system, test it, see where they can tweak things, see what pieces are up to that level. This is a marquee match. We want to see which of these players, whether domestic or based abroad, can rise to the occasion, because this is the first big test. You don't want to show up and play the U.S. in September and have those doubts of, okay, what are the players that might be the weak link in the starting 11 or on that bench? This is a moment where all the weaknesses that we have will be exposed. So it's a perfect time to do it. There's enough time to correct it in case those gaps are huge and there's people waiting on the wings. The wonderful problem that Hugo Perez has is he has people in the wings. So again, I think nothing negative can come of this other than if, it's a huge loss and players are turning against each other and the chemistry or the cohesion of that group falters. But I think the mentality is, let's go for this, see how it works out, but at least go out with some honor, with some dignity, and not playing a defensive style and thinking about the quarterfinals as an excuse to not rise up to the occasion. I think that's the main thing that needs to happen, is the team needs to rise to the occasion. And that's what I'm excited to see. We saw hints of what Hugo Perez could get out of a team when they needed a result during the Olympic qualifiers. Unfortunately, it didn't come through. And I think this is just the next step of, okay, what can we do? What level can we truly play at? And there's nothing better than knowing that they can do this with the eyes of the MLS, eyes of agents, because you're playing Mexico, right? And knowing, what possibilities lie ahead. So I'm excited for it. Should be a great match. And hope you've enjoyed listening to us. I think we're going to wrap it up because, we don't want to keep this too long. We're probably going to do another episode post the Mexico match before the quarterfinal. But more than anything, I just wanted to bring up that we weren't able to talk about it last episode, but unfortunately, yes, Ruben Israel did pass away about 2 weeks ago due to health complications that he'd been going through for the last few years. And obviously that's a sad news for Salvadoran fans, football fans in general, that knew his career, knew of him. And I appreciate him as a coach because he was a coach that was at the helm once I started trying to do videos and interviews of La Selecta, whether it was when they do their tours to LA or going to El Salvador and finding a way to get into the federation and filming and whatnot. So it brings back good memories. When you say the name Ruben Israel, it brings back good memories of, from a personal experience going out there and being welcomed. He was someone that definitely opened the doors to the press and aspiring press back then. So I definitely appreciate those times. Like I remember going to Manhattan Beach, being able to film practices there. And it was just amazing to see, the players walk by you. That was an experience that was new to me. And Mexico was on his coaching staff. So it was awesome to see him there. And then his style, great style. He basically kind of fine-tuned that generation of the Medalla de Oro, the de los Cobos generation, fine-tuned it, took it to a new level. But there was some dry rot in the boat, and the boat went down, unfortunately for him as well. But just looking back, thinking of those good memories, I know that was around the time when your involvement with La Selecta increased. What memories do you have of Ruben Israel's time with La Selecta?
Yeah, I agree on everything you said. I mean, it was 2010 when I got started with Selecta Talent, and he was actually the first senior coach to open the doors to what I was doing. And yes, when I think of Ruben Israel, I have the best memories because that marked the beginning of what I currently do. And I remember one time he called me and he said, I want to bring Steve Purdy into the national team. And I know that you've been talking to him, and I know that you're the man to get him in. So I like to fly into Portland, and I like to meet you there, and we can talk to Steve and meet up. And I was like, perfect. It's like, back then, I was kind of more like a fan, right? So when, I get this call, I'm like, all right, I started making arrangements on my job to take time off. I booked my own flight. I mean, there was no like, we're going to pay for your ticket or anything like that. So I booked my flight to Portland, and I left, and I get to Portland, and then I have an email that something had happened in El Salvador where he couldn't go. So I was like, all right, so here I am. I'm on my own to recruit this guy. And fortunately, I had already built a pretty solid relationship with Steve Purdy, because I believe I had met him at a preseason here in Ventura, actually a few miles south of where I'm at right now. So I went to Steve's apartment that he was sharing with a few other players, and I brought him a jersey. I brought him the Salvadorian jersey, and that was the first time that he put on the blue jersey. And I even have a photo that I posted at that time. And Steve, actually, I told him, look, I just flew in. I just bought a ticket. I was going to meet with Ruben Israel here, but unfortunately, he had some complications and he couldn't travel. So, Steve offered me a place to stay. He said, hey, we have this is like a 4-bedroom. Actually, he offered me his bedroom to stay there. And he was going to stay in the living room. So it was, like a very nice experience. So there I was, sharing the space with like 4 professional players, and me recruiting Steve, had dinner with him, and he was like, yes, I'm really excited to join the national team. A few months later, he made his debut in the Gold Cup. So, and a lot of that was due to Ruben Israel openness to what I was doing. And then later on, I think, Andres, if I'm not mistaken, you were there in LA when we played
Estonia.
Stoney. I think he was the coach.
Yeah.
Anyways, he saw me at the on the lobby, and he was like, oh, come join us. So he invited me in to have dinner with the team. So he was a great person, a very, very good person. Even after he left the national team, we were in touch. We actually tried to bring Steve into one of the teams that he was coaching. I think he was coaching in Ecuador, Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
He really wanted to bring him in, but he didn't have the space. He got there and the team already had the 3 foreign players. So yeah, I have nothing but good memories of him.
Yeah, definitely a great coach. It would have been amazing if he would have been able to stay a little bit longer, and obviously inherited a better situation. But even with that situation, one of my favorite matches under his tenure was that match away in Costa Rica where they turned the lights out on us because we were working them. Remember the goal by Isidro Gutierrez, just an amazing goal. And yeah, all of a sudden, boom, someone yanked the cord on the lights at the stadium as we were peaking. And then we ended up with the 2-2 tie. I was also there for the 2-1. I've mentioned on this show, sound like an old man probably, but I was there for the 2-1 against Mexico. That was an amazing match too, just very frontal. It was a battle. I'd even say it was a little more exciting than the 2-1 victory that we had with De Los Cobos at Cusca, because it wasn't off of a PK. It wasn't just PKs that were scored. But again, just thinking of Ruben Israel and his family, and thinking of the great memories that we've had as fans of seeing La Selecta move in an upward trend despite all the things going on in the background. And with that, we'll close, ladies and gentlemen. I think let's focus on the match. Good things are coming. We'll be seeing who contacts us on our Twitter, on Facebook, on our Instagram, but just want to hope that you have an amazing time. Or what are you planning? So you're going to watch it in Ohio, or what are you going to be up to?
So far, it looks like I'm going to drive to LA like midday tomorrow so I can make it on time to the game. I just heard today that the actual start time might be 9:15 Central Time. So that would be 7:15 Pacific time, but it was programmed for 6:30, so there might be a little more time for people to get the carne asada already.
Yeah, I thought it was 7. So in any case, if you're on social media, keep checking. There's no way there's going to be a delay on this one, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm pretty sure they'll have the national anthem so you can, get pumped up during that time. I'll be watching it with some friends, some Salvadoran friends locally. Shout out to my buddy Gerardo and Cesar from Chalatenango and San Michael, respectively. So that'll be a lot of fun too. Like in NorCal, at least in the area that I'm at, there aren't too many Salvadorans. So then we find each other, we stick together. So it'll be fun to watch the match in a, I guess you could say, more subjective mood. Obviously, it is hard sometimes to watch a match with Mexican friends. If you're Salvadoran, there's all that banter. There's the record against them that they can always use and throw it in your face. But for all you mixed people, I hope you enjoy it. I wonder, if you're leaning one way or the other, if things end up in a brawl in your house. But at the end of the day, it's just a game. So anyway, shout out to all you guys. This is what it's all about. This is an exciting match, and we're gonna close it with that. And this kid chose me. That's why we're doing this, right, Uwe? All right, everybody. Right. We'll see you guys after the match. We'll try and do a post match. Get that in before the quarterfinal. Do you know when the quarterfinal is set to be played, Uwe? Because that is a little doubt.
I believe it's Saturday the 24th. The quarterfinals are the 24th and the 25th. Ours are probably on the 24th. So that alone, I want to add that adds a whole nother week of training for the coaching staff. So
which is even better considering that there's still uncertainty as to whether soccer will start up again in El Salvador due to doubts of the protocol that's being in place. It seems that it's something that's evolving as we speak, so there's nothing concrete. I don't want to make any statements on that because we're still not sure as to whether they're shutting down soccer or they're allowing vaccines. It's something that will continue to evolve, and we'll let you know. But for now, yes, the best thing is more time in camp, more time to fine tune, and yeah, another week. Like that's awesome. So we'll definitely get that episode cranked out before the quarterfinal, and it should be either Honduras or Qatar, and if I'm not wrong, right?
Or Panama.
Well, Panama got eliminated, right? Today.
Technically not yet.
Okay. All right. So either of those three. Granted that Panama Honduras game was very fun, but very Concacaf, especially when it came to the VAR. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, exciting times, and we'll catch you guys later. And again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.